Hormones are going to be some of the messengers of the endocrine system. But what are hormones? Well, hormones are chemical messengers that can travel from head to foot. They're traveling through the blood, or they're traveling through the lymph, or a combination of the two. They can get into every single vessel, from artery and vein to capillary. So really, they can access almost any tissue in the body. That doesn't mean they'll cause an action at every tissue in the body, but they can access. There's going to be a difference there, because the hormone cannot work or exert its function if it cannot bind. So there has to be a receptor. But these hormones, they are long-distance messengers. Now they can simply just exert a reaction on the cell next to it, or a cell from head to foot. Now, before we get more into the hormones, two other actions here and type of things that are not endocrine-based, but they are using chemical messengers. The autocrines. This is now when a cell secretes something, and that chemical then causes an action on the cell that secreted it. Auto, self. So autocrines are going to be acting on themselves. While paracrines, these are acting on cells around the secreting cell, not on itself. So autocrines secrete a chemical messenger. That messenger then acts on the cell that secreted it. Paracrines, again, secrete a chemical, but it acts on cells around it, not on the cell that secreted. Now again, these aren't endocrine, we're not talking here, just a different chemical messenger. A little caveat for a second. All right, back to the hormones. Now, the reason we're doing that before was they're all chemical messengers, but we're going to focus on the endocrine because those are the chemical messengers that are going throughout our bodies. Now, all the hormones in your body are classified into two different things. You're either going to have amino acid-based hormones, which is what we're looking at here. Now, these amino acid-based hormones, they could be like this first one, this amine hormone, which is norepinephrine. Basically, what that is going to be an amino acid that has then been modified. The basic core is still there. You still have that central carbon. You still have the OH. You still have, in this case, the amine group off the side. But that COOH has been modified a little bit. So the amine type of hormones are a modification of amino acids. Next one is a peptide hormone. Now, peptide, think strings of amino acids. So all these, GLY, then LEU, PRO, those are all amino acids. We don't need to know what the actual three-letter abbreviations stand for, but understand those are amino acids. And then you have the full-out protein hormones. Sure, they're made of amino acids, but they're an actual protein. Long enough strands, they have the folding occurring. That's what you're seeing right here with the human growth hormone. So all of these, though, are classified as amino acid-based hormones. Whether they're simply a modified amino acid or a full-out protein, they're still in the same category. Second category is the steroid-based hormones. Now, the steroid-based hormones, they're usually made from cholesterol as a base product. Now, this one you're seeing here, testosterone and progesterone. These steroid-based hormones are coming from the gonads or your adrenal cortical, so the adrenal cortex. Otherwise, every other hormone in your body is based on that amino acid. These steroids are going to be more specialized gonads, adrenal cortical, or adrenal cortex as far as the production. So the mechanisms of hormone action. Basically, what are they doing? Where are they going? All these fun things. So first off, alter plasma membrane permeability. That could allow for an increase of an ion to pass through, or could prevent certain ions from passing through. So it can impact and alter the permeability of your cell membranes. could cause stimulation for protein synthesis, make more of this, or inhibit the production of that particular protein. Activate enzymes or deactivate enzymes. Remember, enzymes keep working as long as there are products being brought in. So these hormones could cause that to keep going or inhibit and prevent that from occurring. Induce secretion. The hormone could cause secretion of another hormone. It could cause secretion of an enzyme. It could cause secretion of different ions, of whatever, but could cause the actual glands to secrete their product. It could even stimulate mitosis. Mitosis, or one cell becoming two identical daughter cells. The idea is hormones have a huge, broad range of functionality. Now, I mentioned already that they're either amino acid based or they're lipid based, but they have different solubilities. Water soluble hormones. Now, these are going to be all of your amino acid based hormones, except the thyroid hormone is the oddball here. So every one of the amino acid based hormones are water soluble except the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is not water soluble. Now, because they're water soluble, that means they cannot enter the target cells. That's important because they have to bind to receptors on the outside of the cells. So they use what's referred to as a secondary messenger system. Now, the cartoon you're seeing here, you can see there's the hormone, the first messenger. It's binding to the receptor. And then in this case, the G protein and enzyme inside to the secondary messenger. There are different pathways that are followed depending on the hormone and receptor. But it's the same basic idea. Hormone binds the receptor on the outside of the cell. Then a cascade occurs to that secondary messenger inside the cell. So here we have a look at a secondary messenger system. What we first have is the hormone, which is water soluble, is binding to the receptor. It's on the outside of the cell. That hormone cannot enter into the cell. It must stay outside the cell. So once that hormone binds the proper receptor, then you have the G protein. That G protein will then be activated. Now, in this particular pathway, that G protein is going to go right here to the adenyl cyclase. It's going to cause that to become activated. Then what that does is it's going to take and move CAMP, or cyclic AMP. That one then is activating this kinase. So you activate the kinase, which is then going to cause the reaction to occur inside the cell. So that's this kind of pathway moving through the inside of the cell. You can see here is the secondary messenger we're talking about. So that first messenger is the hormone. Second messenger is inside the cell. In this case, CAMP, or cyclic AMP. So that causes the reaction to occur here, activating a protein. Now, that's not the only type of mechanism that can occur. There are other secondary messenger activities as well. Now, while this one used the adenyl cyclase, here's one that doesn't use adenyl cyclase. Instead, this PIP2 calcium pathway, it's still going to use the G protein. So you still have your G protein here. But now instead of activating the adenyl cyclase, it's going to activate a phospholipase C. So we have a different thing that's being activated by the actual G protein. Now, this reason why it's called PIP2 calcium is also integrated in this pathway as part of a messenger system. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire process. Just be aware there are multiple pathways. that utilize this secondary messenger system. We saw one with adenyl cyclase. We've now seen one that uses phospholipase C. But still, hormone outside, water soluble, binds receptor, receptor activates that G protein then goes to either phospholipase C in this case, or in the last screen, it was adenyl cyclase. But we said water soluble, which means we're the flip side, which is lipid soluble. Now, lipid soluble is great because it can go into the cell. That means these hormones go directly through the phospholipid bilayer. They enter the target cells. There's no need for an external receptor because they pass right on through. All of your steroid-based hormones are going to be lipid soluble. Makes sense, they're made of cholesterol. But you also have the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is also lipid soluble. So even though the thyroid hormone is going to be an amino acid classified hormone, thyroid hormone is the exception, and it's going to be lipid soluble. Now that's kind of important to think about because, again, we mentioned thyroid hormone before is helping with metabolism, which pretty much means almost every cell in your body needs to have the thyroid hormone helping stimulate its metabolism. So it's a very widespread, widely activating hormone. So it goes directly in, allows for a direct mechanism. So what is that direct mechanism? It's this. You can see the hormone, which is this oval shape here. That is going to be your lipid soluble hormone. So that's thyroid hormone plus all of those lipid hormones. They go directly through the cell membrane, which allows them to go into the cell and bind their receptor. Once inside the cell and they've bound the receptor acts kind of as a shuttle. It's going to help direct that hormone to where it needs to go. Here you can see it's going right to the DNA to cause transcription of the DNA. Now, if you remember, transcription is taking that DNA, transcribing it into a messenger RNA. That then allows translation to occur. That messenger RNA can be read and they can create a string of amino acids from it. This is a direct mechanism. You don't need a secondary messenger. The hormone goes right from the blood right down into the actual DNA itself to cause the action. So we have lipid soluble, passes through the membrane, directly activates, and we've already covered the previous water soluble, which needed that receptor on the exterior surface, and then a secondary messenger inside. So different mechanisms of the hormones, from water and lipid soluble back to your classification of amino acid or lipid-based.